Let me think. If I was Mark Carney, this former central banker, totally rich guy who pretended to give it all up and run to save Canada as Canada's prime minister, and I somehow won this election by being passed the baton under the table by Justin Trudeau, and I somehow won because anybody else that might have had a little bit of a chance, like a Ruby Dalla, we just kind of disqualified her, even though we took all the campaign money and the donations that she raised. Let me just think if I eked out this win in ridings where I beat Karina Gould in her own riding and I beat Krista Freeland in her own riding. Somehow the numbers don't add up, but never mind. If I was Mark Carney, what would I be doing right now? Let me think. Oh, yeah, I'd be bringing in this guy, David Lametti. Y'all remember him? Mr. David Lametti, chummy chummy with Trudeau and the ultimate. Oh, my gosh, this guy from the Liberal Party, he's the former Justice Minister, the former Attorney General. He took over from Jody Wilson-Raybould. Yep, because he was willing to look the other way. He was willing to not pursue justice and the right course of action for SNC-Lavalin. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's the guy that kind of wanted to loosen the rules with MAID, and he's the guy, catch and release. He loves it. He eliminated mandatory minimum sentences for serious violent crimes, including gun crimes and repeat offenses. He allowed house arrest for violent criminals, including those convicted of sexual assault, human trafficking, and robbery with a firearm. I mean, it goes on and on. He's also the guy that has appointed many judges. For example, Judge Kevin Liu in Surrey Guildford. He was sort of had a hand in the BC recount. Well, that guy was appointed by David Lametti, though I'm not saying anything. Another Supreme Court justice that he approved was Simon Koval. He approved that guy December 21st, 2020. He's the guy that in the BC Supreme Court that upheld the vax mandates, saying that, the vax mandates were justified for the healthcare workers. Yep. That's the very same David Lametti. He puts all his friends in all the right places, gets all the things done. And Carney decided to bring him in. I mean, how deaf do you have to be? What a tone deaf decision that is. Or maybe it's not tone deaf at all. Maybe he knows exactly what he's doing and he's just laughing in your face. Remember, these elite types, they put it all out there. They put it in your face. They literally show you and tell you. And it's up to us to listen. I'm going to play a clip from you. This is Brendan Miller. This is during the POEC. Remember those days? And what a smug face. He looks like a goblin from a movie. Remember how just pompous he was back then.
But again, you understand under Section 4 of the Department of Justice Act, it's your duty to see that the administration of public affairs is carried out in accordance with the law.
Absolutely. And if you were to ask me the factors that were going on, the events that were going on across Canada that I deemed to be important as a member of that cabinet, I would answer the question. But you're asking me to interpret facts through the law, which is the kind of advice an attorney would give, and I won't do that.
When you're advising on whether to waive solicitor-client privilege, what factors do you consider?
Again, you're asking me a hypothetical question. I would, in probably virtually all cases, advise that it shouldn't be waived, simply because it is such an important fundamental principle.
Now, just one
You're
last.
going to have to wrap up.
Yeah, I am.
Yep, and that was good old Justice Rouleau telling Brendan Myers that he might have to wrap up that line of questioning. God forbid you actually question this pompous little Lametti into giving a proper answer. But also, Lametti was in trouble because he deleted a lot of confidential or government records from his personal Twitter account. I don't know if you remember that from a year ago, but Rebel News was all over that one.
The other win that we got, which would not have happened were it not for our lawsuit, is that Lametti is required to transfer his Twitter account to the library and archives for them to handle. Now, that still makes me nervous because who runs library and archives? Well, Trudeau does. And I think they're just handing him to someone who's going to delete the records that Lametti wants deleted. That said, we managed to get those two things. And most importantly, as soon as we filed the lawsuit against Lametti, he reactivated his Twitter account that would have been deleted. I read the ruling, and you can read it at stopthecoverup.com.
And another reason that I called this video Carney's getting the band back together, it's like the Blues Brothers, only the Canadians are feeling the blues because we want to start crying because we don't want to see any of these people. But lo and behold, here's Mark Mendicino. He's the former public safety minister, and Carney is appointing him as his new chief of staff. I mean, my gosh. Now let's go back a couple of years and watch as Conservative MP Larry Brock questions Mark about the Emergencies Act.
Well, with respect, Minister, that is a law enforcement issue. The law was available for them to use. Whether they utilize it is a separate issue. My question to you is, that was available to law enforcement, yes or no?
Mr. Brock, you misunderstand the application of the law as well as how law enforcement interprets it. Their advice to the government was that the existing authorities were not effective at dealing with the illegal blockades and the occupation.
Well, law enforcement at Coutts, Alberta had no problem invoking the criminal code to take care of those criminal activities, did they, without the Emergencies Act? You'd agree with me? They didn't need the Emergencies Act to arrest for the attempt murder or the other serious offenses, didn't they?
Mr. Brock, notwithstanding that, the tools that were afforded law enforcement were necessary for the purposes of addressing the illegal blockades and the occupation. And that advice came from very experienced law enforcement, including the Canadian Association of the Chiefs of Police, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, the Canadian Association of Police, who represent the rank and file. Mr.
And
Brock,
we'll examine those individuals.
Mr. Brock,
one final question. Did the Ottawa Police make a request to the federal government to invoke the Emergencies Measures Act, yes or no?
So we were involved in conversations with our partners and with the political ministries. We didn't make a direct request for the emergencies.
National security. Did you ask the government or representatives for the invocation of the Emergencies Act?
No, there was never a question of requesting the Emergency Act. There was a question.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm sorry. So you never asked for it. Do you know of any other police leadership that asked specifically the government for the invocation?
No, we actually reached out to various police agencies when there was talk about some of the authorities within that they were proposing. And of course, we were consulted because we were the ones who would be using those authorities. So we were consulted to see if they would be of any use to police in the context of the Freedom Convoy.
Yep. Well, there you go. You even had Brenda Lucky and others say that other members of the police force say that they never requested help in that manner. They never requested the Emergencies Act to be invoked. And even a judge ruled that as unlawful and unnecessary, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, does it? The gang is getting back together. And there they are. Mendocino, Carney, Lametti, the whole gang off on their merry way as they're sort of going down this yellow brick road by pissing on all of us. Guys, thank you for watching this video today. That was just a quick one for me. I didn't put my lip gloss on, and my eyes are all swollen from allergies, so I didn't go on camera today. But I'll catch you later in the week. We'll see what happens as Mark Carney is expected to be officially sworn in. My gosh, what a ride. We'll catch you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.